sure to send that to your email too, so you can come circle back. If you didn't get a chance to check these videos out yet, you're definitely going to want to watch these. So very cool stuff. All right, let me jump to another question. You know, we talked about coming up with the creative idea. Let me ask you this one, and maybe we'll start with Tony on this one. So Tony, do you have any fun stories or like real difficult challenges when you're creating your videos? Anything you want to share that's just related to, you know, the human aspect and the story behind trying to go through the process of making a great video?
Well, you know, every video is a process, you know, and it feels like it's always surprising because you never know what to expect in a production. You know, everything. And in my case, I usually never overdub anything. Like where we're shooting is what is actually being recorded, so I have to be in charge of not only the video, but a lot of it has to be the audio. So in the acoustics and wherever we're shooting, and you know, I think it's a matter of always trying to organize and make sure that you're prepared for everything, but you're always running late and always everything always runs extra time. It's just, I think that's just the nature of the beast. And you're always extremely exhausted at the end because you just put so much heart and soul into every production. And even if the video doesn't go viral, it doesn't get enough views or whatever that you expected, it's still rewarding because it's something that stays there forever. And I think that's something that all creators can, you know, can relate to. That it's just, it's all about leaving your heart into it, and whether people like it or not, it's just that you have to really dig it, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, when you're doing these live performance videos, you've got not only a video production challenge, but you've got a major, you know, live band recording challenge. You know, you have to have mics all over the place.
Yeah, no, and it's not only that, but the pressure of all the musicians and everybody to playing in tune, you know, and brass and, you know, all the arrangements, and so you have all that. But that's why you rehearse, and hopefully you get it right. You know, that's all.
Yeah. So what? Yeah. What lessons have you learned about just keeping a large group? You know, because I could use some of that advice right now, trying to keep this
Make
large
sure
group
that
calm.
you feed them. Make sure you feed them well. You know, make sure
Just beat them out right on. Yeah. Yeah.
as much as you can. That's the best advice I can
I'm glad you brought that up because when I think about video production, I always think about the deli tray in the back of the, you know, the production room there.
give. Yeah, yeah.
So
Yes.
that's great. Hey, let me just ask one more time. Can everybody do? Okay, great. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, Tony. I just want to make sure your mic is
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
loud and clear. So maybe crank it up. I don't want to miss anything you say, which is
Okay.
awesome. And then let's go to Brent. So Brent, what are some thoughts that you have about that? You know, challenges or funny stories about going through the process?
I mean, for me, a lot of it's just the audio production is what I focus on first. And then I'm kind of an audio guy anyway. I mean, video is secondary. I kind of picked up video because, audio doesn't really exist without video anymore.
Yeah.
So I kind of adapted, and I'm still learning Final Cut, and I'm learning new tricks every day. But for me, focusing on the audio and making sure the audio is really good is kind of where my heart's at. And I'm a big one man band kind of guy because that's just kind of what I've always done and how I've always done it. Staying Inside was actually an exception to that. And it's funny that that's the one that really kind of hit. But I do a lot of that kind of thing. But it's really just being able to roll with the punches and learn as you go. And I can't even tell you, I mean, every single video, I've probably got to look up 20 to 50 tutorials on whatever I'm doing at that moment. So just kind of having that attitude where you're willing to go above and beyond and learn on the fly and be willing to put in the time to make it good.
That's encouraging to hear because I definitely have to look up a lot of it. I had to look up videos before we even did this webinar tonight. So I think everybody's feeling that big time. And it's really encouraging to be reminded that even somebody like yourself who's getting 4 million views on a song had to look up some YouTube videos on how to do stuff, just before doing it. A couple of quick thoughts. I love the happy guitar player in your video too. He just looks so happy while he's playing.
He is happy. He's one of those guys. He's one of my best friends actually in Nashville, and killer guitar player. He's actually a great artist in his own right. But I just called up two of my best friends, and so I was like, hey, just throw some guitar on there. Hey, throw some bass on there. And actually the bass player, it's funny because the thing that probably got the most comments out of everything on that video was the dog, the bass player. The dog's just chewing on a bone, you know, in the corner of the camera.
Oh, that's right.
It's amazing. It's legendary. You couldn't have planned it better, you know. He was just like, hey, my dog's in it. Is that all right? And I watched it. I was like, yeah, that's going to be amazing. So.
And then, you know, as you pointed out, you do a lot of one-man band stuff. So you have another video in the playlist called Sucker, and it's really great. It's just you doing that amazing, you know, start with one thing, and next thing you know, you've got a whole looped production going. And it's so cool to see. And as somebody who gets excited about that idea, I can't help watching it. I'm like, which button did he hit right there? And how did he do that right there? And when did he start that loop? And where'd that loop come from? Was that recorded in the last chorus?
Right.
You know, so how, like, what advice do you have for somebody who might want to go into doing a looping video like that, who's trying it for the first time?
Yeah, for looping, I used to be like a loop pedal guy. You know, I got the Boss RC 300 a long time ago, and that used to be how I did it. And then I started seeing a lot about Ableton Live, and I started exploring more with that. And it's amazing because in Ableton Live, like with that Sucker video, for instance, I literally just went in and automated. I mean, obviously, the hardest part about live looping is you got to remember what to record when. And you got to be able to do it perfectly right in that spot. So there's very little room for error, because if you make an error, you know, it's a bad take and you got to just start from scratch. But Ableton Live, I automated basically all that stuff. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to record the hi-hat in these 2 bars. And I just set it to record, and then I put it to play mode. But it's really easy to automate. It's pretty cool. I mean, you can record. It's just got a record and a play mode. So
it knew when to record and then play and loop, and all you had to do was stay in time with it or whatever.
Exactly.
You know, that's the funniest thing about live looping is, on the surface, live looping, when we first see it, we think, oh, that's a cool cheat for doing music, until you realize that it's twice as hard to do it that way as it is to just play it.
Absolutely.
So, well done, man. Well done.
Thank you.
All right, Kurt. So let me jump to you and ask you the same question. You know, do you have any fun stories or challenges or you know, any difficulties in creating your video? You know, of course, I want to ask you about the I made a song video, because those zooming out of the camera and stuff like that is a little bit mind blowing to see. You know.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, as far as like challenges with audio recording, I probably don't have any recording setups that are nearly as complicated as like Tony, for example. Usually I'm just recording, you know, one input at a time. Most of my time I spend literally in this room, like creating stuff right here. As far as the, like some crazy stuff, because I've done a few videos. There was this one video where I remade Bad Guy, but it's all in an IKEA. So it's all recorded with sounds that I found around IKEA. And then I'm just like sitting there in one of those IKEA office places as I'm like working on my laptop, mixing it, and then going back and recording sounds and whatnot. And
wait, so did you go have Swedish meatballs while you were doing your editing? Is that part of it?
Swedish meatballs came afterwards. That was the treat. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously with something like that, you know, the challenge is, well, one, there's, I didn't really have permission from the store, you know, so I'm just a random guy going around. There's tons of customers everywhere. It's a very kind of wild recording environment sound wise. Yeah. Yeah, it's just a ton of fun grabbing noises from wherever and then just, you know, trying to create something out of it that you wouldn't necessarily expect by just hearing the raw sounds. Okay, so you know, the one where you're zooming out of the video or going to IKEA and doing it like that, what's a way for us to creatively think about a process like that? Because I think for those of us who haven't done something like that yet, it can seem so daunting and overwhelming. It's like, how do I even think of the perfect thing? And maybe you don't have to know what the perfect thing is in the beginning. Do you just sort of have fun with it, and then you go back and sort of make it seem more intentional? Yeah, you know, I mean, I would just say, like, I feel like at this point I've just done hundreds of videos on YouTube, and you know, just do something that you're going to be happy with, that you want to do. It literally, there's no one who every video they put out is a smash hit. Whatever. So if you tie your success or your happiness to the success of the video, then that's sort of a recipe for not being very happy with the final result. So, I don't know, you have an idea, whatever crazy idea it is, just go out there and make it, and then next week or 2 weeks later or whatever, just go out there and make another video. So,
all right. So, and then this, I think, is a question for both you and Brent. And this seems to me like maybe it's in contrast to what you're doing, Tony. Both of you guys have said that it's cool to go record the music first and then make the video to go with the music, right? Is that part of a process that would make sense for videos you guys have been doing?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it depends on, typically I would say most of the time I'm recording the music and then the video is sort of, it's a music video. Sometimes the music creation process is sort of the first part. It's the build up, in the IKEA recording sound, showing how I'm making the track. And then the payoff is the music video at the end where you sort of see it all come together. But whatever works, I guess.
Nice. All right, Tony. So let me come back to you with that question. When you're doing music, how important, how much of it is a live performance being recorded on video versus a recording that then the video is made to go with a pre-existing recording?
Right. Well, it really depends. Like, I've done a few music videos. The thing is that I haven't done many music videos, mainly because of the budget. Like, because usually it requires a bigger budget to do something that looks nice. If you're going to shoot on a red or something, or something super official and using really nice lenses. So the thing is that because I've always been really limited on budget reasons, and I have to invest so much in the music because it's all based on live musicians and performances of musicians, then it sort of gets a little complicated, and it's hard for in my genre, like if I'm going to use the musicians, and my brand is all about the music, right? Where people can actually see how the music was created in that particular moment. So for example, if you get like a piano player to play the piano exactly what he played, especially if it's based on improvisation or groove, anything like that, it's never going to sync up right,
Right.
But that doesn't take away like the fact that I want to continue to start doing more music videos with storylines. And Kurt, I'm actually a super fan of your videos, especially the one-shot videos that you do. It's like, for me, that's crazy, like to try, to plan everything out and choreograph every shot and make sure that the operator, the Steadicam operator is like on point and knows the song to bare bone, and go frame by frame and like have it to me it's mind-boggling. And I don't get into it because for me, by the time I finish, I feel like I'll be like 7 years old because it seems like so much, so I just simplify my life and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna do something with multicam and just have everybody shoot and we'll record it, and it's organic that way, But I really admire, I admire that aspect because it's a whole different monster, and that's super cool to me.
I feel like there's so many things about what you do that are a whole different monster to me. So the feeling's mutual, Tony. Thank you.
Maybe I'll just put this out to all of you guys. What are some stories or thoughts you have about those camera angles? What are some cool things that you've discovered about what makes an interesting shot versus a not interesting shot? It's an open question. Ding, ding, ding.
I mean, I guess I'll take a stab at it. I will say that I am like a total tech nerd when it comes to equipment, and I love, messing around with all cool gear and whatnot. But if you just shoot something on your phone and throw it up on TikTok or whatever, like what makes an interesting shot is that people want to keep watching it at the end of the day. So, and to some degree, I've actually found that sometimes something looking kind of like this home video aspect can actually help things take off on, especially TikTok, but on some platforms. Like professional content doesn't do as well, I think, on TikTok. It's like home video type thing. So I would say that to maybe not worry so much about the technical aspect of what makes something technically a great shot, just what makes something shareable and what makes something just interesting to a random person who's stumbling across your video.
What about you, Brent? Do you have any thoughts on stuff that you discovered with your shots that you really liked?
Yeah, I totally agree with what Kurt just said. I think the reason that the staying inside video even blew up like it did, and obviously, I'm a huge fan of Kurt's work too, but the reason it blew up, I think, is because of what he was saying. It looked like a home video. Obviously, the video production budget was very low. I mean, everybody used their iPhones, and it looked like we were just in our own little space, just goofing off and having fun. And I think that's what makes people kind of relate and feel like they're being a part of an experience that's not out of their reach. And it just kind of feels like you're in someone's home, just hanging out with them. And I think that's kind of the vibe that's going viral right now, is like he was saying, the things that look like home videos but sound like a record. And that's kind of what I was going for with staying inside, because obviously the audio production, there was a lot of audio production that I did to make that happen. Obviously, I mixed everything and did all the mastering and, recorded all the background vocals myself and did all that. And then I wanted that take that, of the performance. So that's another aspect of it. But I think, if you can make it look like a home video and sound really great, the options are really limitless.
Yeah. So we do have a question come in. This one has come in from Sid Ulevic. If I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Sid, let me know. And he starts out with it's the same topic, but he just starts out, admittedly, gearhead time. Everybody has different studio gear for recording audio for different applications, but what is everybody using for video capture, both hardware and software? Also, has anyone used tools like DaVinci, Premiere, or et cetera for audio production? Do you guys want to make any comments on, any of the video gear or audio gear that you're using that you feel like commenting on?
Sure. I mean, sorry. You take it, Tony.
Go ahead, Kurt.
We're all too polite here. I use Premiere. I love Premiere, and I have a few different cameras lying around. I really like the A7 III just because it's lightweight, it's really portable, it has amazing low light, and I just the things that it doesn't do well, I find that its pros make up for it so much. But,
yeah, it looks really good. That's the same shot I recognize from the beginnings of some of your videos.
Yeah, totally. Same. Just put the camera in the corner of the room, press record, and let's go.
And then Tony, you sounded like you were jumping in with some comments on that too.
I'm actually a Premiere user as well. I find it that it's what saved my life after Final Cut Pro turned into X, from 7 to X, and it like destroyed my life. And then
I relate to that so much.
Yeah, and so I've been a Premiere user, but I've heard that a lot of people are switching back to Final Cut, and they're happy with it because of the speed that it renders and stuff like that. But I use a lot of multi-camera, stuff because, like, I'm shooting a lot of concerts. I did a live concert in Peru, and we used I think it was 14 cameras, right? So, and most of them were 4K. So that's my new project that I'm editing, and it's like a monster. So I've heard that Final Cut takes, especially if you use Mac, it just runs better with your video card. But luckily with OWC, I'm getting my external GPU soon, so hopefully that project runs a lot smoother, because right now my laptop is dying.
Yeah, maybe without getting too technical, explain what that difference is, so that for those of us who just think, we make a video, we just use the computer we got. What's GPU?
Well, the GPU I think is it's important. It's the video card and how much bandwidth. I'm not extremely technical with what it is, but I know the more gigabytes the better. That's just the the rule of thumb. So I just go with the best thing. I feel like after the Mac trash can came out, like the 2013, I bought two of them. I'm not so happy with them, but I've had, you know, I've tried to upgrade them as much as I could, and then now I'm back on a MacBook Pro, but I have my, you know, OWC Thunderbolt 3 dock, and that runs everything a lot smoother. The drives that you run your footage on, I think, is a big thing. You know, I'm a music guy. I dedicate my life to creating music, you know, writing arrangements, and that's I'm acoustic music producer, but
Yeah.
because of how the industry has developed, you know, it's forced me into this like content creation mindset that is so important because, you know, my peers, especially in the genre that I'm in, which is tropical or jazz, Latin jazz, you know, they're a lot older and they've always had that radio support, right? And the label, the radio support. Um, and you know, I've never had that because I've never been able to get signed to a label because of the reason how the industry has shifted to like the urban music market, right? But I've wanted to stay in this other market, so that's why I dove into video production. And I think a lot of my success, if not all of my success, like Grammys included, producer of the year, all that stuff, I would have never been close to that, you know, even if my music was remaining the same, but if I didn't do the video side. So thanks to my bug of like trying to do my own videos and me not being able to pay for it, right? I had to just learn it myself. Then that like created an entire career for me. And then now I'm touring and have fans all over the world, but it's really because of the content.
That's great. Well, so we got another question in here too. This one comes from Ken Palmer, and he says, have any of you gotten into live streaming your studio performances? And if so, what gear are you using? Any crash and burn stories to share? Brent, you want to start with that one?
Yeah, I've actually
I wasn't
dived in.
picking on you for the crash and burn, though.
Well, I've had several of those, but yeah, the live streaming right now, I'm loving my iRig from IK Multimedia. I would highly recommend it to anybody. It's just super easy. It's just plug and go, plug it right into my Lewitt mic, and it sounds great. It's reliable. I was messing around with like this thing called Soundflower that enables you to kind of reroute and do all this crazy stuff with your audio and compile everything, because my goal was to have Pro Tools audio go through my live stream and stuff, and I've had a couple of pretty messy like experiences with that. It just gets really complicated really fast, and before you know it, you're running 15 applications to just make that happen. So it could be a little overwhelming. I can't even tell you how many how many tutorials I watched just for that. But yeah, I guess the gear, yeah, it's IK Multimedia's iRig, but basically you just plug it right into your phone, or you can plug it right into your computer. It records the audio. You can set the levels and everything, and then you can plug your headphones in right into it. So it's been really nice.
What were you using? What was your method for the live stream? Would it have been like a live to Facebook, a live to YouTube kind of situation?
So basically I just plug my iRig right into my phone, and then you can go live using the audio from the iRig, or, you know, your interface or whatever. And it syncs with the video from your phone, and it's really great. But you can run it through your computer too, and go out. But like I said, it gets pretty complicated pretty quick that way.
Yeah, yeah. Keeping it simple always seems like the smartest move. There's a guy here in Nashville who was doing some live streams, and I remember his just seemed to stand out with the sound. And when I asked him how he was doing it, he was just like, it was something really simple like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the engineer in me can want to hook up the most complicated thing you've ever heard of in my studio. After all, I do have the Bee Gees console sitting here, so why wouldn't I try and put that into the equation? Kurt, what about you? What are some live stream strategies for you? And are there any tools that you found really helpful?
Yeah, totally. So this might be the opposite of keeping it simple, maybe. But I just did a live stream recently, and I'm doing a lot more coming up. But let's see. So my setup, I actually use two computers for my stream. One computer is just handling the audio, and one's handling the video. I totally feel what Brent was saying about trying to get Soundflower to work and dealing with the whole routing inside of one computer. So my solution for that, because I absolutely hate dealing with Soundflower, I think it's, man, I don't know why you can't do this stuff just by default on the Mac. Just have, I just want to take the output of this application and send it to, to the input of here. But it's actually extremely difficult. And that's really what Soundflower is used for. But my solution is and even currently right now, the audio is just routing through my studio computer and then coming back into my laptop. So I'm able to just, in my studio computer, I can throw on, reverb. I can do whatever on this mic. I can have a whole bunch of live processing. In fact, I already have just some like compression, EQ, whatever, just going on, just not much. But I can, hook up whatever random stuff and just run it the same way that I'm just used to using my studio machine. But then I don't have to deal with all the annoyances of the sound output because the sound's just coming back and going into my laptop. And then I'm able to just, in OBS or whatever you're using, you just take that as the input and bam, that's my audio right there. So
tell us about OBS, because I know about it, but I think before I had discovered it, or when I did discover it, I was like, you got to be kidding. This thing is free and we can do what with it?
Oh my goodness. It's incredible, the stuff you can do in OBS. Yes, if you don't know, OBS is basically free broadcast software. Download it, and honestly, it might be like probably any application a little bit intimidating when you start. But I think once you figure out how to do a few things and you just like want to keep on doing more things, it's like, oh man, I can add like an overlay. I can do these cool transitions between scenes. I can like add like a countdown before the live stream and like have it feel like, really epic. And I can, put some video overlay if I want to just like show a video to people and stuff. I can, all this great stuff.
Speaking of which, did you see our epic countdown at the beginning of this webinar?
Yes. Yes.
Thanks to Randy Fuchs for that bit of genius there. Brilliant.
Yes. And
cool.
Anyway, I could nerd out about streaming for like way too long. So
right on. And then Tony, I'm already losing track. Did I ask you about the live streaming yet, or are you the third?
No.
That?
I agree with both Brent and Kurt. Brent, a lot of times I just keep it simple with IK. With the iRig, it's so simple, plug and play. But sometimes you want to have that ability to run inserts, throw reverbs on things and pre-mix stuff, and you kind of have to go through that. But I think it's it's a matter of just doing it and getting used to it as well. I think it's a matter of just trying it out, and then once you get the signal flow and engraved, it really just comes down to that. And whenever you think the machine is doing something wrong, it's just something in the flow, it's just interrupting. But I would do both, depending on the application.
Yeah. All right. So let me go to another question. I'll just start with you, Tony. So, and you guys have kind of been answering this, but we can keep riffing on it. You said Final Cut Pro X came along and you were like, it ruined my life, whatever. And I mean, to me, that means you're old school video editing, because if you were using it before then you really have been making videos for quite a while. And so you probably remember what it was like starting out. And, so the question is like, do we have to have expensive gear to make videos from our studios? Do we have to start by like going shopping to do this stuff? Or is it more within our grasp than we realize?
No, I think it really comes down to, Kurt said it, it's kind of about what you're capturing and in story, really. You can shoot stuff with your phone and edit it on iMovie on your phone, or they have like Adobe Rush, I think it's called, or something. Like you could just edit stuff on your tablet. It's kind of just whatever you're comfortable with, to be honest, because, let's face it, time is money in life, and you gotta see what how you're gonna save time too on your end, and where you're gonna feel comfortable. Just some people like, I feel like it's personal, even when it comes down to digital audio workstations. I'm a Pro Tools lover. I just love Pro Tools, and I've tried Logic and I've tried Ableton. I'll live with it for a little bit, and I'll know how to do everything I do in Pro Tools, but it's just something that you're just used to. So, you don't have to go around and try everything. Just get your hands on what you can at the moment, and really try to learn it. And then go on to the next thing, so you can try it.
I'll give another shout out to one that I discovered for mobile iOS is LumaFusion. That was a really cool app that I could edit on phone or on iPad. It was a lot of fun. And so let me, I'm going to give you a double question, Tony, before I move on to Brett. To edit or not to edit?
Well, no, I mean,
You brought it up because you talked about the importance of time. So I just want to make sure people understand what that means when we get into post-production.
you know what? It's a double-edged sword, you know, like it feels, you know, sometimes I've tried to delegate stuff to people to edit, you know, because you just want to save time, but you know, I think it's an Asian thing, you know, you just want like you want stuff to be so perfect and you end up like just going on it and spending insane amount of hours on things, you know, but sometimes you just got to let go. And I think that's the hardest thing is to understand when to let go of a project and move on to the next thing. And then try to understand that I think, at least I think it's moving on, right? Let's just keep the current moving. Let's just get it out and then think of the next thing. And then like, you know, Kurt said it, you know, move on to the next week and just, all right, what's the next idea? Because we're in a world that is consuming media so fast. So perfection is the enemy, you know, and I did.
That's
I
a
just see it
good
on the
quote.
Of done, of complete, right?
Exactly. It's just-
All right, cool. Well, let me jump to Brent. So Brent, the double question there, the pitfalls of post-production and, you know, do we need to go shopping for expensive gear if we're going to start making videos?
I think I'm kind of the perfect example of you don't just use what you have, you know. I had Pro Tools, but there was a time where I didn't have Pro Tools, you know, where I was using GarageBand. But I think the most important thing is just to create using the resources you have. If you have the money to upgrade and you want to choose to do that, I think go for it. But it shouldn't be necessary because you can find a way using anything. I mean, I've seen some crazy GarageBand videos that, you know, sound like a record. So it's really less about what you have. You know, the cameras, for instance, the iPhone, you know, is so good video wise that you could definitely get by without having a, you know, $5,000 camera. You know,
Yeah.
10 years ago, the cell phone cameras, I mean, if you tried to release a video of that, there's just no way. But now you really have all the resources you really need to make a great video and just make content. And I just think the best thing you can do is just make content consistently and make it with the resources that you have available to you.
We all have an iPhone and it's inspiring to like, oh, I want to go try making something now. So that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
What about the importance of light? Did you learn anything about like, you know, how you have to think differently about lighting if you're going to shoot with an iPhone?
Lighting was honestly almost the death of me. I realized how important lighting was when I really started kind of diving into video, but it can really make a difference. I mean, having good lighting is really everything. And the more research I did, the more I found out that, oh wow, it wasn't actually the camera that made it look that cool. It was the way they set up the lights and, you know, 3-point lighting and all these basic concepts. I mean, you can find videos about all this stuff for free now, which is crazy. But yeah, learning how to use lighting and just kind of getting things to look good. Like I said, I mean, it's amazing what you can do. I think Selena Gomez just recently released a music video with just an iPhone, and you can go and look at it. But the amazing thing about it was the lighting that was impeccable, and they shot it with an iPhone. So, I mean, that's the perfect example of, hey, you know, you can really make a high quality looking video with very minimal budget.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome. And we got some comments here too from David Friendly saying, you know, people are making full documentaries on an iPhone or iPad, especially with the Steadicam stuff. David Valdez saying he's a judge for the GTX Film Festival, and several of the films were shot exclusively on the iPhone. So that's pretty cool stuff.
Wow.
And I know from my experience, like going to conferences and wanting to make videos and do interviews with people, I tried doing it with fancy cameras and I defaulted back to the iPhone because it was like so easy for me to do it that way. But one thing that never fails is that when you start shooting video, you need a lot more storage space than you do when you're doing audio and making records. So let me jump over to Kurt and see if you want to field that question a little bit. Even though Tony, I think, is the one who said 14 cameras at 4K. So you're going to be, we're going to be asking you some tough questions, Tony. But Kurt, like what do you want to say about the importance of storage and backup for all this video work you're doing? I mean, if you're making so many videos that take so much work, you know, what happens 3 years from now when you want to go back and maybe you need it again or whatever?
Totally. I mean, well, fortunately, OWC set me up with a really nice drive and also their Mercury little deck. So, you know, I can be working just straight off external drive running a multicam 4K sequence with, you know, if I got a layer of eight shots in a multicam sequence for all 4K, I can just run it straight off the external drive, which like years ago, that's just, I mean, you couldn't possibly think of doing something like that. So definitely as far as do you need really nice stuff to make things? No, definitely not. But after using a few things, it's really hard to go back sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, like this shot that
give that up.
This shot that we're seeing of you right now, even though you're probably seeing me because I'm talking, but this shot that we're seeing of you right now is like, you know, that kind of depth of field comes from that high-end camera. But talk about some of the stuff that you can do with an iPhone then and that you really enjoy doing well with that.
Yeah, for sure. I've shot a ton of stuff actually on my phone. I actually don't use an iPhone. I use a Pixel. So I really like the camera on the Google Pixel, not to, you know, plug whatever, but I actually think it's superior. And I've done a number of videos on it. And a couple of them were actually sponsored by Google Pixel. So, you know, I swear I'm not biased when I say that the camera on the Pixel is actually a great. So, yeah, I would say just never let the technology or the resources that you have at your fingertips stop you from making something. I think if you have an idea nowadays, I mean, everyone's got a phone lying around, and you probably have some free software that just came with your computer or something. Like the resources to make a video are there. And just because you might not have the same gear or equipment as someone else should not be a barrier to stop you from making videos. With that said, there are also pieces of gear that I love that, you know, I would be very sad to work without, but you still create regardless.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, so Tony, let me move the question to you. Storage, backup, things like that. What does that mean to you when you're doing 14 cameras at 4K?
You know, it's a nightmare kind of, you know, because it's like I have so much, you know, content, and then you kind of don't want to ever delete anything. So I have like a stash of just external drives of 8 terabytes each, just kind of sitting. But my work drive always has to be, you know, something that you can run a lot of multicam on and not like die out. So I use now a Thunderbolt drive, you know, from OWC, thank God, because it makes everything so much faster. Usually I had to before proxy the entire project, you know, which proxy workflow is just to make everything smaller so that you can run these multi-camera sequences. And the reason why we use so many cameras in our live shows sometimes is because, you know, we have like 35 musicians on stage, so and it's a show, so that's why they're kind of all laying around. Whether it be even a small GoPro or something, it still requires, you know, some processing power. But I would say, you know, make sure you get a really good drive for the current projects, right? And OWC is like the best solution out there for sure for that.
Yeah.
And in your storage stuff, you know, you can get you know, try to go online on deal digs and try to get, like, if you find a real cheap deal on external drives. I remember that my local Best Buy was at one time was like selling this 10 terabyte external hard drive, and they had misprinted, I think, the price on it or something. And then I ended up buying 16 of them. Like I just bought all of them. And it was
You're like
they
1
still
cent.
yeah. It was like, why is this guy buying so many? And I was like, because I knew it was a little cheaper, you know, because it can get, and I don't like to delete anything because I don't know. I feel like down the road, eventually, if I need to go back to anything, I just want to be able to. I don't know. It's just a thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and for me, you know, I put the OWC SSDs in my studio computer, and even just for doing audio, like the audio production speed just ramped way up for me, just comping vocal tracks and things like that. So there's such a sometimes you just don't know how much faster your workflow can be until you start working with a really great drive, you know. And also, even we've got like audience jumping in. David Valdez just says thanks to OWC for their support for all of us and for also doing this workshop. Thank you. All right, well, so let's see, and then a great one from Serena too, jumping in. All right, so let me jump on and keep talking about some of the production and the creative stuff. How important is the structure of the video? So, and what I mean by that is, before we do a production, how important is it that we're thinking about like the beginning, middle, and end of this thing, or are we just jumping in? And maybe I'll start with Kurt on this one. And I even made a note to ask you about, you know, you particularly seem to give an introduction to your video. You know, maybe a question is why? Why do you do that? And then the next question is, why is your introduction in Indonesian?
That was only on maybe a video or two, but I also just enjoy speaking a bunch of languages.
That's
but
amazing.
it's an Indonesian song, and I figured I'd do the whole video in Indonesian because
It was incredible, man. You just started speaking. I was like, what?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a random hobby, just picking up whatever language. But yeah, I mean, as far as the first question on structure of videos, yeah, I mean, I like to think about just on a very basic level, like what's the title of the video? What's basically the basic outline of the video? You know, why does someone want to share the video? And, you know, if the video is, oh, I'm going to remake this song, but I'm just going to use a potato and I'm just going to like record different potato sounds and produce it and put it together, which this literally was a video that I did actually. Nice. You know, the start of the video is going to be like, what's up guys? Today we're going to remake this song, but we're going to use a potato, you know? I mean, like, I want people to know what's up, and it already,
Excuse me, David Mortara. And it's the same concept. And you can answer this, Kurt, or we can just take it around. But, you know, how often are you starting with a storyboard for planning a video? Or is that an example of overthinking a video production?
for me, I basically never storyboarded a video. I mean, storyboarded as in like literally drawn frames of like what I want. No, I mean, occasionally I will have like a Google Doc or something where I just like outline the video, you know, just like a little bullet, where, you know, just to get my thoughts in order. And so I know what I want. And especially if it's something where I might be on a little bit of a time crunch, you know, on when I'm filming it, if I'm filming that video, like in IKEA, for example, you know, I'm going to IKEA to film. It's so helpful if beforehand, when I was in my home studio and I was just like thinking with a more clear head, I just wrote down bullet points. These are the types of sounds I want. I want to get like, you know, light switches somewhere in the IKEA. And then I want to get, you know, this sound, right? And then I think it's really helpful for me to just get a rough structure. But yeah, storyboarding, maybe I'm too lazy, but I would never do. So.
Awesome. Brent, what about you, man? Do you have, when you start a video, do you have sort of an outline in mind, or do you have a process for having this sort of a beginning, middle, and end to the whole story?
Yeah, I'm with Kurt on that. I don't really storyboard, but I did, I produced my own music video for a single that I released a couple months ago, and it's called Yours. But for that, I actually started out with it was like one angle, and I just went to a studio and got a buddy of mine to hold the gimbal I bought with the with the Rebel T3i camera I bought, and kind of did that shot. And then I was actually going to release the video just like that, and it just, for some reason, it was just boring. So I was like, okay, if this is the only shot in the video, no one's gonna want to see it. And so anyway, I kind of ad-libbed, and I got my girlfriend to get her sister to record us and just some footage on the beach. And it was a love song, like a piano ballad, kind of John Legend style. And so it ended up working great. And then I basically produced it like 2 music videos. And then I just kind of cut from one storyline to the other. So I don't know, I think storyboarding, no, but as far as getting creative and knowing kind of where you want to go and maybe calling an audible in the way, like throughout the process, because that first video, like I said, I was like, it's not there. And I'd share it with some family, and they were like, no, I think it needs something else. So then I was thinking about, maybe, I'd use some like wedding footage or something like that. And I was like, I'm just going to make it, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Any lessons learned about the process of, without getting too techie, the process of making a music video? So we've got a recording of it. How is it that the video is in sync with the recording when we're going to edit it and put it all together? Are there some basic things you do that are really easy to make that work?
Yeah, obviously you want to really learn the performance because you want it to be convincing. And a lot of music videos, you want to sync the audio with the video. So have something like a really loud Bluetooth speaker or something like that, playing the audio pretty loud so that the camera picks it up. You can hear it fine, and you kind of get into the performance mode. Or you just do it live, Tony style. And you just do it right and do it perfectly the first take. Unfortunately, some of us need a few takes. So that takes a lot of skill, and props to you for pulling all that stuff off with that many musicians. But yeah, I mean, for me, a lot of the time it's just trying to get that performance and make it convincing enough so that the average, viewer is like, oh, wow, okay. They're actually performing that. So.
Right on. Tony, let me jump. I'm sorry, I'm trying to look at the questions at the same time and keep my train of thought going. But Tony, do you ever make a video where you're not smiling? That's what I'm wondering too, because as Brent's pointing out that it's live. You got the biggest, most infectious smile on all of YouTube.
Oh man, I love to enjoy what I'm doing. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to do like some dark trap, The Weeknd's house, and try to be very dramatic. But I'm in the tropical music genre. That's, people want to dance, people want to like just get up and feel good, and that's what it calls for. And luckily, I my grandfather has been this person that just laughs all day long. Like, that's all he does is just laugh. So I grew up with him, and that he's my example of life. So whatever I do, I gotta enjoy. And you know what, to believe it or not, like when I was younger, I never really smiled until my grandfather just told me, like, you just have to try to smile. Like, give me a smile right now, and I would just do it for him. But then I understood that by smiling, you automatically, like, it just goes into your soul. Like, you just want to be happy. So
Yeah.
That's just something that happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so then, and this does bring up a question that I think all of us have felt, and definitely all of us on this who are making videos from our studios will feel at some point, is that stress of like, wanting to have fun with it, but then losing touch with it, but then getting stressed and stuff. And maybe you guys can comment on some of the ways that you manage that. For example, I might shoot a video here, and by the time I'm done editing, I might look at it and think, like, how in the world do I look happy in that video? I was so stressed out during the entire process, Tony, do you want to start with that? I mean, you've got like 14 cameras going, you've got all these musicians. What are those last minute things that you have to think of, and how do you manage that before you hit the go button? Because I know you've done a whole performance and you get to the end, you're like, crap, we forgot to roll the cameras, you know?
Yeah, no, and that's the worst feeling, you know, or something happens that something didn't work, or you know, that's the problem with the perfection, right? In your head, and being a perfectionist, that you can't enjoy at the end like what you've done, because you're just so caught up on one little thing, the light that didn't turn on in the middle of the show or something. I remember when I was doing the PBS special, um, it's called Unity, and it was like a $500,000 project. It was, and there was a lot of pressure on me because I was the producer of the entire thing, from booking the flights of everybody, you know, 35 musicians on stage, 4 days of rehearsals, lighting, cameras, and I wasn't directing it, thank God, like the film, right? Because I was performing in it. It was my music, it was my arrangements and all that. But I remember, you know, even till minutes before, I had lost my pants. Like I couldn't even find my pants. I was like, where are my pants? And I was like, where's the dressing room? So somebody had to get in, go to Macy's and buy pants for me, and you know, and it was like, Tony, we need you on stage. It was gonna be live on TV, and then somebody comes backstage and tells me, Tony, there's one of the violin players. He doesn't want to sign the release. He, you know, he says that his lawyer needs to look at it first. And I was like, wow, how's this even happening? You know, I gotta be on stage, and because I was the boss in that moment, right? But there's something about the magic of music that once I finally got my pants on, and I just went backstage, and I went on stage, and I counted off four. My mind was like, it just turned off. You know, I told the guy, I told the violin guy, I was like, if you don't sign the release, you're not getting on stage, and we'll change the violin part or whatever. We'll program it. I don't know. We'll do something. He finally signed it, and then I just went on stage, and I concentrated on the music, and the 2,000 or 3,000 people were in the theater disappeared. Everything just shut down. And I think that's what, you know, if we're creating the content is one thing, but if we're in the content, we are the content. That needs to be our focus. Like everything else at that point, if we're not behind the camera shooting, we have to have the ability to give the confidence to the person behind that camera and whoever's there, and be able to let go, so that we can literally make the best performance that we possibly could, and period. And that's it. You know, what is done is done.
That's
and then
great.
we'll see each other in the editing room. But you know, that's something that's super important.
Yeah, and remember your pants. Bring your pants.
Yeah.
Kurt, let me jump to you really quick. Epic fail. Share an epic fail story for your production, or the moment that you feel stressed when you're doing your videos.
Oh man, epic fail. Okay, this has only happened to me one time in 12 years of like making videos or whatever. I once deleted a video that I filmed. I deleted the footage. It's only happened once. I think I've never lost anything else. But yeah, I formatted a card that I didn't have backed up, and oh man, I can still remember that like it's yesterday. God, that's probably been like 5 years now since I did that. But okay, that certainly was the biggest fail I think that I've ever had.
What are the things that stress you out though when you're making videos now? Even like, do you feel stress anymore when you're making videos? I mean, there's got to be a balancing act for you of trying to get everything ready and then you go.
Yeah, I think for most videos, I don't feel too stressed. I think I feel stressed if it's maybe something that I'm a little bit unfamiliar with. If like the first time I was doing like a live stream with a new setup not too long ago, that was a little stressful just because, you're worrying about a mix of technical things and then also creative and musical things as well. So having to balance, both of those in your head can sometimes be a little stressful. Let's see, there was one time when I have this video where I do this routine where it's sort of the whole music is kind of made with sort of hand clapping sounds. It's like this patty cake song. And it's me and 3 other people, and it's this sort of like elaborate clapping routine. And we did it blindfolded in front of 10,000 people in Toronto one time, and that I was pretty stressed before that. I mean, we practice it so much that adding the blindfolds doesn't like at after like a certain point of practicing it, it's like you just know where everyone's hands are. So it just kind of all worked somehow. But it's one of those things where if you get off and you're blindfolded, there's just no way.
You're going to punch somebody in the face by accident.
So yeah, I was stressed for that. I mean, you get stressed when you do things that are new. I think that's natural. I think as long as you just don't let the stress negatively affect you too much.
Yeah. Then, don't let it stop you in your tracks, in other words.
Yeah, and don't erase. Don't format your cards until you have them backed up.
Right on. Okay, so we got some questions coming in, but let me let you share anything you want, Brent. Any stuff that stresses you out when you're making videos?
Like Kurt said, I mean, it's kind of tough sometimes to balance the tech stuff with the performance stuff. And a lot of the time, I can be an overthinker. And that's the funny thing about staying inside. It was like the first video I didn't overthink. And it was basically my most successful video. So I think that's just kind of a testament, is like, if you do feel stressed about it, just take a break, come back to it with a fresh perspective or something like that. But I mean, I've also made that mistake of actually deleted. I was working on a song and totally deleted the whole Pro Tools session accidentally. Like I was trying to, because my computer got full, and I was like, oh gosh, I gotta clear space, right, from my drive. And I took the audio files folder and basically just threw it in the trash, but I didn't realize it was the audio files for that session. I thought it was from a different session, trying to clear space, and I'll never make that mistake again. So, no. But yeah, that can be a nightmare. But yeah, I mean, as far as stress goes, just try not to let it get to you. And then if you do feel really stressed about it, just prepare enough to where it doesn't matter, or take a break, come back to it, and usually you'll feel a lot better about it.
Right on. Yeah. I had a little bit of an epic Pro Tools deletion fail, and it was because of trying to do backup. So I would do the 2 drives. I'd have a mirror drive, and at the end of the day, we just drag and drop over to the other one. But what happened was, if you don't forget to unmount the mirror drive when you start the next day, and the other guy you're working with opens up the session on the backup drive, then at the end of the day, you take the wrong folder and delete it, put it over the backup drive and delete everything.
No.
So we lost a whole bunch of vocals that day. So I know, I feel your pain, guys.
They hurt to hear.
Yeah, that's rough.
All right, so here's a question from Satori Pond. Let me see if I can read this one correctly. If you need to create a video or a theme that is out of your normal theme, it says vertical. I think that means like a thematic vertical. Like, for example, can we select health and wellness? If you were all put on the spot to come up with something, could you share a visual idea and a pitch that comes to mind? I'm not sure. Maybe you guys can interpret that question with me, but I'm not sure if it's asking, Satori, if you're saying, like, if you want to go into a slightly different field, how do you do that? How often do you guys make a video that feels like you're really stepping out of your normal creative zone and doing something that feels very left of field, other than this webinar with me right now?
To take a stab at the prompt, I mean, basically everything I do is related to music, at least somewhat. So I've definitely done a lot of things that are music with random stuff. So like health and wellness, like I could totally see there being something maybe funny or shareable about like making like similar to what I did with IKEA, but doing it all inside of a gym. So like, you have the sounds of like the weights hitting and the bike machine and, whatever. And like, they all can come together and like form music in some way. Like I could see that something of that being a video, but yeah. I don't know. For me, like, just because everything's at least somewhat related to music, my mind's always going there.
That's cool. I like that your style gives you that. It opens doors in just about any direction you want to go, because you can go make the song wherever.
Totally.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. The hardest thing is always finding the pitched noises, because it's always easier to make percussion things like by cutting up different sounds and reversing this and whatever, and making some interesting percussion feel. But like, I don't know, there's probably like machines that make interesting beeps and whatnot in a gym or something. Like, yeah, finding where the harmonic noises come from whenever doing those found sound things, that's usually the harder part.
All right, let me, if you guys want to jump in on something and comment to that, please do. Otherwise, I'll just keep moving forward with questions, and then whoever wants to answer can jump right in. This one comes from Steve Klein, and he says, how much feedback do you guys look for before you release a video? So Brent, you shared a great story about getting feedback on the video before you released it. If you want to elaborate on that, great. Or if you guys want to jump in, the rest of you, and just comment on getting that, that feedback going, Motown style, I guess, because they were famous for, running it through 10 people before it was knowing whether it was a hit or not.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely feel that on the feedback, because a lot of the time I rely on feedback a little too much, and I think it can stifle your creativity if you're not careful about it. Like actually with the Staying Inside video, funny enough, I had a lot of people tell me, hey, don't release that. Don't release it. Like, don't do that, because it's really like, you could really hurt people's feelings, and, it's insensitive and all this stuff. And it was just right at the time where coronavirus was just kind of getting discovered, and it wasn't, you weren't really sure how serious it was or not. But yeah, I mean, actually my dad was like, hey, don't do that. Whatever you do, like, it could be really bad for your career. And it ended up, being, and I was like, look, Dad, it was actually the first time I didn't really listen to any of them. And I was like, I'm just going to do it, see how it works. And if it's that bad and I get such negative feedback, I'll take it down. No worries. But, I put it out there, and like, there was hardly any negative comments or anything. Everybody found it like funny and just lighthearted. So, a lot of the time, if you rely on feedback and other people's opinions too much, you kind of stifle that creativity, and you don't allow yourself to get creative and to take those risks and take those chances of, hey, I think this is a funny idea, and you got to have the conviction to kind of follow through on it and see if it's a funny idea or not,
Yeah. And then after that, you were like, and you know what, Dad? You know what else? I think I'm moving out of the basement too.
Yeah, I upgraded the refrigerator I lived in after that. So it's like,
Tony, how about you, man? What's the feedback process for the videos you create? I mean, I imagine there's feedback on performance or edits, or maybe you have a singer, somebody who's featured, and they get very particular about the video and the look, and you shot my left side instead of my right side or whatever. What do you get for feedback?
Feedback is very important. I feel like a lot of times the edit just improves with opinions actually from people that are outside of the industry, just outside of music in general, and they look at it with a different. I love to receive feedback. Most of them, I consider some of them are just, you kind of you start to understand where they're getting with the stuff, but I think it's very positive, man, because you got to be open to different markets, especially. So I love to receive feedback and keep tweaking, and it's fun, but I'm usually running against the clock anyway, so I don't have much time to tweak. So it's like,
yeah,
this is a good bad thing too.
Yeah, well, it's good that you mentioned that, because we're running against the clock right now. So let me know, guys, if I need to let you go, or if you want to do another question here. I'll see if do I have time to sneak one more in, one or two more questions, guys, or you gotta
Good with whatever.
Get back into the studio. All right, groovy. So this one comes from Maribel Diaz, saying, anyone have experience with mirror work? Would love to use reflection without seeing the equipment in the shot. I'm not even sure what that is, but maybe that's like a teleprompter kind of thing. Are there tricks with mirrors for shots?
Actually, Maribel, I know Maribel. Maribel is one of my singers, actually. She sings with my band, and we've been traveling, playing, recording together forever. So actually, we're doing a production for her right now, which is actually a cover of the song Reflection from the Mulan movie, but in a salsa genre, so it's tropical.
Oh, that's awesome.
Really nice arrangement that we just finished up there. So, to be honest with you, we were gonna shoot it in the studio and record it and put it out, usually how we do it. But I told her, I said, Maribel, I think like for this video, it should be something more, maybe just more creative with a better flow. And I said, why don't we do it like Kurt Hugo Schneider style? I swear, I promise. I was like, we should do something with one take. So she started like saying, oh my gosh, what if we do some mirror idea where she can see her reflection, and shoot that. And I said, well, we'll have to call Kurt for that one, because it gets too complicated for me.
Well,
Yeah.
well, let's see. I mean, there's been a couple times when I've had to comp equipment out of the mirror. Um, Now it's sort of, it's time consuming and tedious because to do something like that, you probably have to use After Effects. Which if you're not familiar with After Effects as opposed to some other programs is a program that has a very like long learning curve, I think, compared to like Premiere or OBS or whatever that you can pick up quite quickly. Um, I uh, I would say like there's been a few times where I've just left something that in a reflection because I feel like, well, if someone sees it, one, they've probably watched the video multiple times, and two, it gives them something to comment about. It's like literally like, well, it gives them something to comment about. But yeah, if you're taking something out of a mirror, it is extremely tedious. I have a friend though, to shout out this guy, his name's Will J. He's an awesome singer. He released a song called Lies, and the music video for that is all like he's in the middle of a bunch of mirrors and the camera's going around, and it's really beautifully done. I didn't film it. My friend did though. And it's sort of, there's like the way that they did it is they're just comping a lot of footage onto the mirrors, but it looks very natural. So I mean, you look at it, it's just it doesn't look like that's how it was done. Anyway, yeah, either comp it on, mask something out in post, which is probably the worst solution because it's very time consuming and also will probably look the least real, or you really have to like plan out the camera path and the placement of the mirrors extremely well. Yeah.
Right.
All right, cool. All right, so let me jump to the last two questions here, and then we'll close up. This one I think is pretty much for Brent. So David Valdez wanted to know, were there copyright issues with staying inside? And I think maybe, you know, not to put you on the spot to be an expert about that, but what did you learn about, like, what do we need to know about doing a cover song and putting it on YouTube, for example?
Yeah, I mean, it is a tricky thing because parody is kind of one of those, it can fall under fair use if you use it in a certain way. And don't, you know, quote me on that, but mine just happened to fall under fair use. And I was a little worried about that because I was like, you know, I wanted to put it on Spotify and do that kind of thing too. And a lot of time you don't really know whether to upload it as a cover or as a parody or where that line kind of is. So for me, I kind of just went with the fair use parody. And then as I, you know, explored it, if I found that, it didn't actually fall under that, I knew someone would tell me, you know? So, you know, I did a lot of research on it and I obviously made my best educated guess, but, you know, depending on who's looking at it, you know, somebody might say, oh, well, that shouldn't fall under fair use because of this. But with parody and covers, obviously they're going to want their publishing for that kind of stuff. So I think as long as you're honest and you put it out there and you say that I don't own this song, this is a parody of so-and-so song, and you don't try to hide it and try to make it look like your own, I think you're in good shape.
Right on. All right, cool. Thanks for answering that. So now here comes a question from Harris Fogel, who wants to know how you guys deal with data archiving. I know we talked about backups and drives, but the sort of like archiving, keeping stuff for long term. How do you retain? This sounds kind of technical, but how do you retain the data? What formats do you use? Do you like to keep them on something physical and local or on cloud storage? And do you worry about like long-term survivability of your storage? Just jump in, guys. Whoever has a thought first.
Let's see. I have tons of old hard drives. So, I mean, I literally, I've never thrown out a hard drive unless it died on me, which has happened only one time that a hard drive literally just totally gave out. I just never want to, I guess I never want to lose data. I never know when I'm going to need some super old project. I mean, nowadays I'm just using my OWC drives, which like are absolutely, and also just to like brag about OWC, especially because, you know, this is hosted by them right now. My OWC drive gets like 100 to 150 gigs a minute transfer speed on my Mac Pro. That's incredible. I've never had a drive that's come anywhere close. So just to give a little bragging about that, you know, I used to think that 5 gigs a minute was like pretty quick. and it's just it's a whole nother level. So
what are the things that you experience when the speed is fast like that? What are the tangible things that somebody who doesn't know speeds and stuff yet would experience?
Totally. A couple things. Well, one, you never have to worry about running anything off the hard drive. I mean, it used to be the case that even running like audio sessions off of a drive that was like kind of a little sketchy and very, very glitchy. And then obviously running video sessions off of a hard drive has been quite glitchy, actually, depending on what you're running on and how big the audio, the video was that you're trying to read from the drive. You know, how many video takes you're trying to read from the drive at the same time. Is it 4K? All these things. So one, you never have to worry about working off the drive. The bottleneck is never going to be the read speed of the drive. It's just never going to happen. And the second thing is that just the convenience of, oh, I want to back something up. I want to take something from here. I want to get, especially video projects. Video projects can be huge. Like you could have 100 gigs of video easily on a project. You want to transfer that 100 gigs of video onto this drive? Great, a minute. I mean, it's like, it's totally insane. You don't have to sit there waiting for something to transfer. It saves you time, and time is like, you know, your time is very valuable. So it saves you time. It's great.
Right on. Yeah. And speaking of which, I talked about shooting iPhones at conferences. I would come home and I'd have 500 gigs in a folder. And I'd be like, how did I even end up with that much stuff in here? You know, so I can appreciate that. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us on this workshop webinar. It's just been such a cool thing to hear you guys share all your amazing stories of creating and making these videos. We've been going for a good long stretch, so I think we should close out. Let me just go around and let you guys sign off. Let the Rockstars, let everybody who's watching this video, join us in the audience, where they can find you. So Brent, where would you like everybody to go to find you and learn more about you and your music?
My social media is all Brent MCC Music, at Brent MCC Music, and you can go to brentmccmusic.com. You can find me there. So
awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here, dude. We'll include a link to that in the follow-up for everybody, too. And then, Kurt, how about you?
Oh, man, when I was making all my social media accounts, you know, they're all different things, so it's horrible. My YouTube is Kurt Hugo Schneider, which is an extremely long name. My TikTok is Kurt Schneider. I mean, hopefully, if you search Kurt on most things, hopefully I'm there.
Right. Awesome, dude. And we'll know when we get there because your hair is awesome too, dude.
It's the quarantine hair.
It's great. Tony, please let everybody know where they can go experience your amazing performances and your fantastic music.
Thank you, thank you. No, I'm Tony Sukar everywhere, so you just search for Tony Sukar and you'll find me.
All right, groovy. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here with us. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to be spending this evening with you. And also a big thank you to OWC for allowing us to do this together and hosting this together. And thank you to Chris for putting this on, and for Randy. So, guys, thanks very much.
Thank you, guys.
Signing off, and we'll see you guys around the studio. Cheers.
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 All right, looks like everybody bailed.
What's the cleanup song? Clean up, everybody. How does it go?
All right.
Up there.
All right, everybody's out. It looks like everybody bailed. I threw everybody else out. So hold on, let me stop recording.
Because